Hey guys, Vinnie Mirchandani here. Real pleasure to have Max Mueller and Christian Nilson from Daimani, and I'm going to let them explain what it is. But it is a fascinating concept of bringing, VIP tickets to events, sports events, rock concerts, and so on, into a marketplace concept. So, welcome aboard, Max and Christian. Why don't you explain a little bit about your company and a little bit about yourselves?
Thank you very much. My name is Max Mueller, and I'm the CEO and one of the 6 co-founders of Daimani.
And I'm Chris Nilson. I'm the COO and also one of the 6 co-founders. And coming back to why Daimani, we have all had a long kind of history in the event business. Me and Max together, we started in 2006 with a FIFA World Cup in Germany. And some of us have had even longer experiences in sports events and VIP events in general. So over the years, we kind of got to know the ins and outs of the business. A couple of colleagues were involved in the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia. And when that went on sale in 2016, there's a specificity with the Russian market, and that is they buy very late. So everyone got quite nervous. Why aren't we selling? Why aren't we selling? So we started looking for different channels to distribute the VIP packages, and kind of realized there's nothing out there really. There's a lot of different silos, but there's nothing out there such as a marketplace that you would find like a Booking.com for accommodation or an Expedia for flights and accommodation. It doesn't exist because no one has digitalized the product yet. And that's kind of where the idea for Daimani was born. Max and I, back in 2011, started a small company that kind of was the start of Daimani, which was just a basic web shop for VIP hospitality products. But back then, we were a bit younger. Our vision wasn't so large, and our pockets weren't very deep. So we had to cancel that project after 2 years, basically, because we ran out of money to promote it properly.
So when you say VIP package, I presume it's the tickets. It's exclusive travel, exclusive hotel. You bundle all that, right? The package would include.
Yeah. Basically, a VIP package for an event itself is always ticket plus. It can be ticket plus some kind of F&B element. It could be ticket plus F&B element, parking and gift, but it's always a ticket plus. And obviously, the future is the kind of whole VIP experience. And then you're looking at the VIP package for the event itself, you're looking at accommodation, you're looking at travel as well.
Yeah. In the end, it's you can go to a stadium basically, which you see in the background, for example. You can just buy a ticket. You have a row, a block, and a seat. Yes, this is basically what you have, and you can go to the concessions and purchase your food. Or you can have this plus experience. I think better seat, private hospitality areas, dedicated access, and then what Chris mentioned, the way to this package, your flight, your accommodation, maybe some experiences, special experiences around the event, meet and greet, the sportsman, for example. So there are various options. So it's basically the second way, the more premium way to experience live events.
And maybe to make it clear, we don't produce these packages ourselves, so we're market aggregated. They already exist in hundreds or thousands of different silos, and we aggregate them onto one marketplace.
And you offer it through a marketplace, so you broaden your reach that way, right?
Yeah.
So, do you find individual consumers come to you only once, or do you have a clientele that keeps coming back?
No, we have now the first ones who are coming back. I think from the market, it's of course many corporations purchase these packages to entertain customers, to entertain employees, to to keep relationships, to be together at this event. But more and more as well, individuals purchasing these experiences, the Ticket Plus. So families, people who want to make a boys trip to Premier League, for example. So this kind of more individual groups we have more and more. And we have as well the recurring customers. It's not a package you purchase every week. Yeah, as an individual, you purchase it maybe 3-4 times a year. Corporations have budgets which they allocate to certain events. But so yes, there is a kind of recurrence, and this is why this marketplace makes sense as well. And I think the key thing what we solved in the beginning was always how do you find really official packages you can trust, tickets that you're coming now to Paris or you go to New York, you want to know that this not quite expensive package works at the turnstiles, that you have access, so to have really the trustful source for this kind of life experiences. So to find them, to purchase them, and I think another thing what we wanted to solve is how to pay them, because it was not always so easy to pay these packages. When you're coming from China to Europe, for example, you can't pay with Alipay with most of the events, just to give you this thing. And with Daimani as a marketplace in between, as a platform, the customers are able to pay and able to access these events.
So 2020 has been a very, very interesting year for you, right? I heard somebody say the sports world has not been so affected since the Second World War, right? So the Tokyo Olympics were postponed. The Bundesliga has come back, but without any fans. Travel across countries has been greatly impacted. You must have had to do all kinds of adjustments, right? Refunds, rebookings, etc. Tell us about all the things you've had to do.
I think we started to realize this when it started in China, because we had, of course, Asian events, and then in China was already earlier than it happened in Europe or in America, for example. So we felt quite quick, okay, something going on, the cancellations of the event, for example. And what we had to do, of course, our key purpose was to keep the customer happy. So the first was to inform them, to tell them what is going on, what is with the event. It was a new situation for everybody, especially for corporations. They invited customers. They wanted to know what's going on now. And then there was a second step, which is, of course, the financial part, which in most of the cases was a refund, or some of the events they had this voucher, basically when it is already clear when the event is postponed. So yes, it was basically the steps, and it kept us, I think, at least 2 to 2.5 months busy even now to really make our customers happy that they are informed and that the financial things are sorted.
You know, you're awfully positive it must have been a horrible couple of months, but both of you seem awfully positive.
We've been through a lot, but I mean, we were, I don't know if you would say double unlucky, but the marketplace went live on the 27th of September last year. So when the COVID really hit Europe, we had been live for basically 5 months. So that kind of added to the difficulty of the whole situation, because obviously a young company, all you want to do is grow, you want to market, but if there's nothing there to market, it's difficult. So like Max said, our focus, also because we knew, was to make all the clients that had booked in this period happy with refunds, and make sure, you know, that we don't stand, because normally the contract is between the customer and the event. So theoretically, we could have stood back and said, yeah, but you know, your contract is with the event, deal with it. But obviously that's not in our kind of service-minded nature. So we made sure that all clients were happy, although maybe the events weren't offering refunds yet. So we said, okay, we make the clients happy, and then we deal with the events in the end. But obviously a lot of the big ones, like the Olympics and then the UEFA Euro, they postponed it. So the tickets that had been sold are valid for next year.
Yeah.
And I think to answer as well your questions, what is the positive thing? I think it's well how all our customers and guests reacted. I think everybody understands the solution. It's not that we have legal and lawyer case, and people don't understand why events have been postponed or canceled. And I think this, for me, shows as well the beauty of humans celebrating together. There is this kind of understanding for the situation. I remember the financial crisis. There was a completely different attitude, from a customer side, where it affected as well the event business quite a lot, especially on the corporate market. And the customer behavior and the understanding for this was completely different as it now. So I see a lot of humankind here globally as well, that, we have to go through this together. And then when it's done, we can celebrate together again.
You talk about double unlucky. I talked to a customer in Australia. It's a zoo, so animals and all that. And so obviously COVID has affected them quite a bit. But then they told me just before that, they had all the bushfires. So I talk about double unlucky. But, in your case, you're a small company, but you were born global. So I think you can already see some positive signs, right? As Asia is opening up, as Europe is opening up, you must be seeing some positive signs already. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a careful optimism. There are examples of opening up, but there's also examples of opening up and shutting down again, like Melbourne, for instance. So I think in general we're carefully optimistic. Obviously, the first thing to open up will probably be where it started. So Asia in general, China in particular. But yeah, I think in general we're looking at the future with positivity. Yeah, so things will open up again.
That's great to see.
And the thing what we see as well, from the customer we are talking with, there is still the demand is there. The people want to meet, they want to celebrate, they want to invite their customers, they want to go with their friends to a football match, to a concert. They even are desperate to do so. I think from a positive thing. It's not that the demand is not there, the market is not there in the end. There are no events because of the regulation. I think this is a very positive thing as well, what you see, that the people are longing for life experiences.
That's great to hear. Now, let's talk about your technology. You have gone with SAP for your ERP, CRM. SAP is generally known as a system for big companies, right? Multinational oil companies, chemical companies, auto companies, and so on. How did you feel comfortable going with SAP, and how has that helped you so far? And what do you see doing with it going forward?
I think we know there's this general perception that SAP only was for big companies, but I think this is a marketing effect they had since 20 years. But I think SAP changed. We are not the first young company or a small mid-sized company where SAP has as a customer. So I think we are not the first one. But what we wanted to do for us was clearly in why SAP, we were looking for an IT and technology partner which is basically acting globally, because our business is global. We have a global business. When you have a big corporation, they purchase from Asia to America. We are in a business where it's not two sides, no Chinese America side, which is happening now. We are a global company. People traveling to these events globally. So we were looking for a platform which covers this in the end from a global perspective. A company who is making sure that the Chinese data is in China, the Russian in Russian, and the American in America, and that we ongoing catch up with these ongoing legislations. Plus, we are not the first marketplace in the world. So as many things have been evolved, so we only have basically our industry specific functionality, which we are doing with SAP. And in the end, it's always about, if it's a global company or a small IT or own developers, it's about the team in this company who will cover the project. And we have quite an agile way to develop and going forward. So we don't have now a big SAP. We have a developer team at SAP, which is with us in our team. So this is why it fits.
So, talk about the industry-specific stuff that you do with SAP, because you have a unique trip planning, travel booking. What all do you do with SAP, and So talk a little bit about that.
So basically, we have a platform. The platform, we are basically from architecture, we're using S/4HANA. We're using everything in the cloud. I think this is the first important thing. We're using only cloud systems. We have nothing on premises. We have different applications we use from SAP, as you mentioned, like a CRM, but a sales cloud, a customer data cloud, where we are saving the data. We have a commerce cloud, which is basically in Java application mainly, where we're using basically the products and the transactions. Yeah, and here we're working already with microservices. Basically, it's a headless system. So we can send the data to various front ends where we want to do, or even without a front end when we just connect the machines to each other. Yeah. The beauty is we're using, it's called SAP Cloud Platform, and we're using there some Schema extensions for who are familiar with tech, where we connect basically ourselves to the ecosystems. What is our ecosystem? These are events. These are other platforms, these are customers, big corporations, so that we connect the systems to each other, which are purchasing or hospitality packages or events, basically, which giving us their inventory and their content, which we then distribute through the platform. So it's basically a platform we are using, an ecosystem with applications from SAP we are using, which we have, of course, adapted to our business needs.
And it's been fairly flexible that way?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, look, at commercial or Java, you can do everything in Java what you want in the end. It's nothing. There's, of course, always this key challenge, cloud systems. How do you have bespoke functionality in a cloud system? How do we do this with the releases and so on? But with this kind of microservice approach, which we have started now, I think it worked quite well to be ready for this.
Well, I'm sure SAP will be happy you were talking nicely about their cloud solution and the fact that you're a smaller company that, is behaving like a large company. So that's great. So let's talk about, every event I've been to this year, technology event, has been on On24 or Zoom or Microsoft Teams, right? What are you seeing in terms of your events? Where do you see that headed, as people look at digital alternatives to physical events?
I think we've all kind of gotten used to things like we're doing now, interacting with work colleagues and so on video conferencing platforms. But what we experience as well is that there's no real substitute for the live interaction and this kind of live experience. So we don't necessarily see, it was like Max said before, the demand is still there. At the moment, the supply is not there because there's no events, but the demand is still there. The corporates, they want to interact with their customers, and you can do that in a better way face-to-face than over Zoom. I mean, it's nice that all these video conferencing tools exist, and I think it helped us in the crisis a lot. Homeschooling, working remotely, and so on and so forth. But we don't believe it's a substitute to the live experience.
Well, and I think you make a good point that that it's a supply side issue more than a demand side issue, which is always better. Right.
And I think it's very interesting what happened in the beginning of the Corona crisis. I think all of us, we watched, there was a Live Nations, which was virtually, there were all these shows virtually, opera virtually. I know nobody which really was not bored, like quite a little bit. I think it was great to support the artists and so on. But when you're sitting to home and watching the Zurich Opera, for example, in the TV, it's not the same as when you are in the building with the artists, with the other one. It's such a big difference. And even I was personally quite surprised that it's such a difference, that even to pay attention and this feeling and this not looking at your second screen. What is entertainment, live entertainment? You forget that you have a mobile phone. You should forget it. But in front of the TV, you have your second screen, you're on your pad, you go here and there. You're not these 2 hours away. You don't forget your problems and all these kind of things. So this is, I think, the beauty of live entertainment.
Max, I have heard you say that you think physical events, not this year, but 2021 will spring back maybe even better with all the pent-up demand, right?
Of course, yeah, I can't look in the crystal ball that it will happen, but I think you see now there are concepts developed. I think this year it will be very difficult for live events. It will be.
But even in 2021, will the experience be the same? It seems like travel is going to be a hassle across borders. People will still maybe have to wear masks. How are you preparing for a different physical experience?
I think it will depend really on the country or on the local what will happen. Of course, traveling will be something. There will be always a little bit a danger. Is this country blocked? Yes or no? So people, the first thing will look for assurance. Can I have the flexibility to stop it? I think, or they will book later because it's not clear. I think this is one of the traveling thing. What I can't look in the crystal ball, but what I think the people will more enjoy, most probably next year, events which taking part in their area and their country. Similar like in tourism now, what happens, the people experience, they go to the middle of France or they go to, they stay in the Alps and even they see by coincidence their neighborhood. So there is, of course, something for local events. And as well, sport tournaments will maybe think as well to make more locally. You see it now as well. So this can be a trend. There will be, of course, not everything as before. You see it now with football matches. There are different concepts, like in leisure parks. Like when you go to the audiences now in Germany, they will start in October, the first twice with 25,000 people in the stadium. Where, like in the cinemas, they try this already now that families can sit together. If they don't know each other, there will be some space in between. Our hospitality areas, of course, it's great because you are a little bit separated. It's smaller groups. You have more space. I think the events have to do a lot how you go to the stadiums. So that you don't basically, it's nice to have, let's say, space in the stadium and the areas, but when you go to the entrance and the ticket still starts, everything is packed. It does not make sense. So there will coming new concepts. And as well, I think the technology will help us as well to, when there's an area where is some incidences, that events will not taking place. So it will be then more local lockdowns, as you see now in Melbourne. Not the whole country is locked down. Something happened in Melbourne or some areas of some cities. So I think the key is that we prepare ourselves that a crisis can come. Because for me, this is something very interesting. We have done so much in our world, technology and how we live, but we all forgot that there can be a virus. We react to this virus, how we reacted in the Middle Age to this virus, isolation. And I think it's where that we all touch this experience now. There will be evolution how we handle this kind of incidences. And of course, it goes to our event industry as well. There will be measurements. So it will not be always the same. And there will be clubbing in the mask. I see now the first clubs. The people forget the mask after 1 hour that they wear a mask. So it's when it is like this, I think the people get used to these kind of things as well.
And I think
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that there won't be a global solution to it. You'll kind of see country by country trying its own things, be it a contact tracing app or be it using masks or less capacity. But I don't think anyone really knows what's the best way. So I think we'll just have to wait and see. There will be a new normal for sure, but we don't know what the new normal is yet.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot and ask you to put your crystal ball on. So, which sports next year? Which rock concerts? What do you think will come back stronger than others? Like in the U.S., baseball is a very physical. People like to go to the stadium and eat hot dogs and so on. Football can be a little more digital. So, put your crystal ball on. As you look around the world, what sports will do better than others, or what events will do better than others?
I think first key thing is it is outside or inside. as independent with the sport, I think one key measurement is outside or inside. This is a way to make it outside, to make it more, to allocate more space on it. And you can do this even in the winter sport. You can have a 0.5 person square meter ratio in a winter sport, or you have 3 meter ratio with open tents, as an example. So, as of course, when you look at horse riding and wherever where you are outside, where you have much area to look at it, of course, it has an advantage, in comparison to a dancing club in Las Vegas, for example, where it's basically you are in one building.
So even rock concerts would be in stadiums. Anything open would be better, right?
Yes. I think this is for sure where you have more space. And of course, you're right. When there is the audience is less physically, there is a festival for people which are for young people. It's essential part of the emotions to celebrate close to each other. As a festival. It's part of the whole experience, and of course, these kind of things will come a bit later, I would say, than watching an ice hockey match or a base or even a football match, where you have basically better control the masses. Golf, for example, of course, it's super where you can play with space.
How about so anything indoors, like potentially hockey, or would be more challenged than basketball? I guess we really don't know.
No one really knows. That's the thing. But if we try to look in the crystal ball, I think, like Max says, open air events will have it easier. But I don't see why indoor events are not coming back either. They might not come back as strong, but I think there will be a lot of different concepts on how you can control it. Be it anything from taking down customer data when you buy your ticket, so you can always contact the people that were in the stadium or sat in that sector if someone turns out to be sick. Who knows where the contact tracing apps are moving? At the moment in Europe, at least, it's kind of every country for itself. But maybe in 6 months' time, there's more of a global contact tracing app. And I think open air will have it easier, but I don't see why the NHL cannot come back strong. They just need a good concept.
We'll find out in the next month or two, because we've got the NBA playoffs and then the hockey playoffs. So both of them are indoors, and so we'll find out a bit more.
One thing, of course, one tournaments or global events who have a challenge will be events like an ATP finals or WTA, basically tournaments which going from country to country, or basically where's a competition where players have to travel. And when you are on an ATP tour and you have to be always 2 months or 2 weeks in a quarantine in a country, these event series basically have to, I think this will have a challenge, or the format has to be maybe revised for this kind of tournaments. But when we just talk about the NBA in America, where the players are in America, they don't travel. But maybe a wrestling tour in the global world has maybe some other challenges. Maybe it will be not traveling from one country to the other every weekend. So I think this kind of thing may change, because this sometimes the people, or many people, forget that the sports people or even the concert people need to travel. And if there's some quarantine, it's difficult to fulfill the schedules.
Well, let's look ahead where hopefully things will be better. Max, what's your vision for VIP experience in 2025?
I think, of course, the first thing is that my vision is that when you want to look for them, you want to purchase them, you don't hustle around. You just go, for example, to Daimanis. There's one single source. How you explore them. That's my vision, that you don't talk about digitalization in a vertical industry. We are in a vertical industry. I think this is the first vision. I think something, and I think you see it here as well in this is, by the way, a concept from Mercedes-Benz arena at Atlanta. You see here, what is VIP experience as well, when we take from a seat? Either you're very close to the sport, very close to attention, or you have this helicopter view from a skybox or from a private box. And you see sometimes this mix of additional information, like this guy has virtual classes. So you get additional information that you basically have premium content to this. So I think this is something as well which come to this. But I think in general, I still always hope that when you are at an event, that, as I mentioned before, you forget technology, that you forget everything and just be there. And I think this I hope as well for 25 that it will not change, that people will have the chance to just have 2 great or 3 great hours and enjoy their life.
So how will your Zoom background look in 2025?
Yeah, it looks maybe a little bit even closer.
You have a very nice one right now.
Yeah. It looks maybe closer to the action. No? I think a lot of future is where to be even closer to the sport, closer to the artists, to bring aware this barrier which sometimes happening now from the fans to the people. So I think everything comes closer again, and I personally believe as well that stadiums will getting smaller. Yeah. They will getting smaller, not anymore these 100 or 80,000 big arenas, getting smaller, getting more private. It's getting, this is my personal, how I see. Yeah? And I always say, as well as when I come back to the purchasing thing, if I may say, of course, we have some visions at Daimani. Yeah? Like I'm at a horse race in UK, people love horse racing. Yeah? You just look with your phone, you go to the horse and you see when this horse is running the next time, and you can then click and you will be at this next event. So this kind of especially in the purchase process.
Augmented reality.
Yes,
yeah. Christian, what would you add to that? What's your vision?
Well, I think both Max and I have a similar vision. Obviously, we've been working together long enough to kind of share the vision. But for me, I can only reiterate that for us, the biggest goal is that people just kind of forget the word digitalization, because it would have taken place. It wouldn't be a topic anymore. At the moment, it's still very much a topic in our industry. And it would be nice for everyone involved, I think, especially for the event goers, would be very nice if we could leave the topic behind us and be there.
Great. Any final thoughts?
This crisis gives a lot of chance for our industry as well now to see what can be done better and what we can do better as well for the health of the spectators. Yeah, I think this is everybody realize that it's
the whole
something,
fan experience, right?
Yeah, there's something we all have not thought. We thought about what is very panic or something, but nobody really thought of this kind of health measurements. We have to take care of the spectators, of this kind of safety aspects, so that everybody who is enjoying live experience will go healthy back.
Well, look, all of us enjoy what you are helping facilitate. So I hope you're back healthy, and the whole industry, events business, is back healthy. So thank you again for your time. Really interesting.
Thank you.
We look forward to all the innovations you're going to bring in the space. I mean, you already have a great concept. It'd be good to see all the innovations you bring forward. Thank you again.